So, as you all are most likely already aware, Mr. Joey Biden is doing an effective, complete pullout of Afghanistan. Now, as an individual that is anti-war, as a person that is against these meaningless wars, and that is no overstatement, they are extremely meaningless in many respects, unless you talk about, creating money for the military-industrial complex, geopolitical gain against other nations, and what have you. These wars are, in fact, meaningless. And Joe Biden is doing a relatively good thing by pulling out of it and bringing the troops home. Now, as you've seen, I'm sure many of you have seen the relentless smearing and propaganda from corporate media to tell or try to inform the American people why this move is bad, as the Taliban literally takes over city after city after city. First and foremost, we spent $90 billion to give weapons and to train 300,000 Afghan troops. And they just turned tail and ran. That seemingly provided no benefits whatsoever, because what we're seeing from the Taliban right now. And I must say, it is also extremely unfortunate what some of these people are going through in this country. I mean, it's no mystery. It's not difficult to discern once looking at the situation. Yes, it's extremely unfortunate. What's going on to many of the population there, especially the refugees, the interpreters that was of aid to the U.S. while they were in Afghanistan. And to that, I say, bring the refugees on. They should be welcomed into the country with open arms. But these arguments that the people on mainstream media are pushing are absolutely asinine and erroneous. I just saw something from George W. Bush where he's talking about this is a grave mistake. Nobody gives a fuck about what he has to say. John Bolton was just on CNN. I mean, corporate media is bringing on anybody and everybody that's pro-war to espouse their beliefs as to why Joe shouldn't be pulling out of Afghanistan. And I wanted to make this video because this is a huge topic right now, but also Joe Biden has effectively the weight of the world on his shoulders as I see it. Now, before I get a little bit more into that, so when we first heard about the move to pull out of Afghanistan, it was kind of common knowledge based upon the articles and the reports that you've read that he was going to leave, contractors and a certain amount of troops in Afghanistan. It wasn't going to be, in effect, a full pullout. Okay. And I think the amount of troops, it differs from what article you read, but it was several hundred troops, right? And, special ops and what have you. But with the Taliban taking over as quickly as they did, they basically forced the U.S. out of their country. So he's actually not leaving anything there. He's pulling everybody out. And that has created a shitstorm in corporate media. And the Republicans in Congress and the Senate are against him. And all the corporate Democrats, effectively, because, pretty much all the Democrats are corporate Democrats except for a few. But, so it's negligible to call them that, So the Democrats are against him as well. And even the lefties in Congress that are nominally anti-war aren't speaking up, aren't saying anything, aren't coming out in support of Joe Biden. And it's kind of weird because I actually vehemently dislike Joe Biden. But when a person does something that I approve of, I come out and I give them their credit because I'm not biased and I'm not an idiot and I'm principled. So I support this move. It's a good move, but he does have the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he's been seemingly abandoned by his own party even. You have, like I said, Democrats coming out and condemning this, and he's being condemned everywhere he looks. And I was worried, and I still kind of am about, will he weather the storm? And will he stand up in the face of adversity and continue with this? He's the president of the United States. He has the power in his hands to do what he's doing. And I feel like at this point, we can only hope that he continues to do so. Now, some would argue he only arrived at this conclusion because of the quick and utterly dominant takeover the Taliban has had in quick succession of Afghanistan, because I alluded to before he was going to leave troops in. But I don't really care how he arrived at the point. Of course, we'll remember this and we'll remember what his legacy was and how he did arrive at this point. But the fact that we're getting out is enough for me to rest on. And So I'll just rejoice in that fact. But he did come out and he gave somewhat of a speech yesterday, essentially doubling and tripling down on the points of bringing the troops home and what have you. But he's getting hammered, man. And I saw on social media, the people on the right and the pro-war Democrats were calling him a coward. And I'm just sitting here wondering if he will fold. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Of course, I hope that he doesn't. And once you pull the troops out of Afghanistan, why not go to Iraq? Why not go to Syria? Why not go to everywhere where every single country where we are currently occupying, and bring all the troops home? If he does these things, I mean, just pulling troops out of Afghanistan, that's something that no president in recent history has accomplished in terms of foreign policy efforts. Barack Obama campaigned on bringing the troops home. He never did it. He did the same yo-yoing of the troops level, bringing it up, bringing it down, bringing it up, bringing it down. Donald Trump did the exact same thing. He wasn't going to do an effectively full pullout of Afghanistan as we're seeing right now. Donald Trump has actually come out and condemned Joe Biden's efforts to pull troops out of Afghanistan. It shows you how much of a fraud and how much of a hack he is. But still his base will support him for no apparent reason that I can think of. But this is a great move from Biden. I commend him for it. Of course, it's muddy waters because he does have a horrible track record and he's not the greatest person in the world. He isn't doing this out of the kindness of his own heart, or at least that's what I choose to believe. But nevertheless, he seemed to stumble himself into a position that I can support. But as I alluded to before, the weight of the world is on his shoulders. And hopefully he doesn't fold because that would be very bad.